Good morning, friends. Welcome back to another Monday with me. This morning I am packing my daughter's lunch. The flu has been working its way through our house, so my youngest is out sick and I am just packing my daughter's lunch. I've always tried my hardest to keep their lunches as simple as possible with whole foods and real ingredients. So I kind of go with like a bento box approach to their lunches. I put some fruits and veggies in little containers. They may have a sandwich, they may have like meat and cheese rolled up together. Today I did some broccoli florets, some raspberries, a kiwi, and a Colby Jack cheese stick. I also decided to mix up some ranch dip for her to dip the broccoli in. Normally I would do equal parts mayonnaise and sour cream, but I didn't have any mayonnaise made up this morning, so I just used sour cream and a little bit of our homemade ranch mix, which is super easy, and I think I have it linked in a video somewhere. I'll look for it before I publish this video. Then I just put everything in her lunchbox and add lots of ice packs because she is really funny about her cheese stick getting too warm. On this particular morning, I made them breakfast. It was just plain rice check cereal with sliced bananas and some of our raw milk. And then I decided to include some chocolate milk in my daughter's lunchbox. We have an overload of fresh milk right now because our cow is producing about 5 gallons a day. We have restarted delivering milk to our old faithful milk customers, but we aren't acquiring any new ones just yet because the twin calves are requiring about 2 gallons of milk a day in a bottle. So until we wean them, we will just keep using up the milk that we have and selling to our current customers. But I decided to go ahead and make a half gallon of chocolate milk. This half gallon only has a quarter cup of sugar in it and a quarter cup of cocoa powder, a splash of vanilla, and a few pinches of salt. It's so simple and most definitely has less sugar than a cookie or even a granola bar that has chocolate in it. So I decided to include a half pint of chocolate milk in her lunch today as a treat. I don't normally include sweets in their lunch, so this will be a nice surprise. Now I try to arrange everything nicely, and I decided to go ahead and add an extra ice pack so that the chocolate milk was surrounded by cool packs. Now it is time to process some more of this milk. We had several gallons backed up in the fridge, and I needed to free up some space, so I decided to make mozzarella cheese, ricotta, and butter today. Now I'm trying a new mozzarella recipe. This one takes a little bit longer than some of the other ones that I've tried in the past, but I wanted to try it out because all of the mozzarella that I've made so far, and I've made it many times, ended up really tough, and it just didn't taste like super fresh. It's hard to explain, but you know when you go to the grocery store or occasionally Sam's and Costco have the soft mozzarella balls that are sitting in oil with fresh herbs. Oh my goodness, it's so good. I can't ever achieve that. So I was determined to find a recipe that gives me slightly softer mozzarella. And I also wanted to find one that has you salt the mozzarella while you're stretching it. As I waited for the citric acid to do its work, I went ahead and made my bed and piled all the clean laundry from yesterday onto my bed to get it taken care of. I headed back into the kitchen to see if the cheese was ready. If it's ready, then it's going to be somewhat solid and pull away from the sides when I stuck my finger in there, and it was not. It was still very soft and it hadn't really set up yet. So I decided to move some laundry over and wait just a little bit longer. Time to check it again. Let's see if it pulls away from the sides this time. I decide a spoon is not a good idea. Look at that. See the difference? It's nice and firm, and when I stick the knife in just a little bit, the whole chunk of cheese pulls away from the pot. I'm feeling really good about this recipe so far. So at this point, you use the knife to gently go from top to bottom, side to side, and you cut your curds into about 1-inch cubes. My goal lately has been to have any housework or chores that I would like to accomplish for the day finished before my husband gets home, but really my goal is even to have it finished before my kids get home from school, my 2 youngest. That gives us the entire afternoon to spend time together, study, get their homework done, play games. They help me start supper. And then I also have been milking before my husband gets home in the afternoon. He has been milking in the mornings since Penny had her calves, and I have been milking in the afternoons or early evenings. Now it is time to heat the curds, and once it reaches the right temperature, I will drain off all of this whey and start stretching the mozzarella once it gets to a certain temperature. Now, I'm not going to waste the whey. Believe it or not, you can make ricotta cheese with nothing but the whey, which is just the leftover liquid after you've made mozzarella. While the curds sit for a little bit longer, I decided to skim all the cream off of the milk that was left in the fridge and make butter. For many, many months, I made butter by putting all of the cream into my KitchenAid mixer and using the whisk attachment. And, it would basically go from cream to whipped cream, and eventually, sometimes almost 45 minutes later, we would have butter. But there were times when I thought I was going to kill the motor on my KitchenAid. And one day I thought, let me try the Vitamix. Well, lo and behold, it takes literally under 60 seconds to turn that cream into rich, chunky butter. So now I always make my butter in the Vitamix blender. Once I am ready to take the chunks of butter out of the blender, what will be left in the blender is buttermilk. So I'll either use a slotted spoon or sometimes just clean hands, and I pull all of the butter out of the blender. And then I put it into like an ice water bath, because what you have to do next is work the butter with your hands, and it's definitely helpful if you can make it cold first. Otherwise, your warm hands and the melty butter just isn't a good combination. But you want to basically massage the butter, work it into a ball, and kind of fold it over itself over and over, working out the buttermilk, all of it as much as possible, because the less buttermilk you have left in your butter, the longer your butter is going to stay fresh. Now, we don't typically take but one stick or two out of the freezer at a time. For the most part, our butter stays in the freezer. And I've never had any issues with it kind of going sour or anything like that. But I do try pretty hard to get all of that buttermilk out. I don't tend to wash my butter, which some people, or a lot of people really recommend. And that's basically doing this process over or right next to your faucet that is running, so that you're not only working the buttermilk out of the butter, but you're also rinsing it with fresh water at the same time. But I haven't really found that to be necessary, and that's one less messy step. You might have seen that I added a generous bit of salt as I was massaging it, or not massaging it, but working it. And I have found that we really, really like fairly generously salted butter. I don't know that it's any saltier than just regular salted butter from the store, but we don't like it. We don't like the butter as much when I don't put enough salt in. So definitely a fan of salting our homemade butter. I found this silicone butter mold on Amazon. My friend Ruth Ann linked it one time, and it has been wonderful. It's so nice to kind of take the guesswork out of something homemade. A lot of times a homemade product may not look the same or weigh the same or be in the same portions as if you had purchased it from the store. And this takes the guesswork out. One of the reasons you saw me kind of dropping it or slamming it onto the counter is because if I don't do that, then I end up with some bare spots kind of underneath each stick when they have frozen. And if you get it in there nice and even, then it's easy to cut off tablespoons at a time when you need it for a recipe. So, did you know that boiling the whey after you've made cheese can give you ricotta cheese? All you do is you bring it to a certain temperature. When it gets to that temperature, you add, I don't remember how much vinegar. It's easy to find the recipes online. and then you let it sit for a while, strain it off, and what you see here is homemade ricotta cheese. Isn't that amazing? There are so many uses to the byproducts of milk. That was one of the biggest things that sold my husband and I on getting a milk cow. We had been thinking about it for quite a while, and it's just amazing the things you can do with farm fresh milk, or even store-bought milk, probably. And finally, as I said before, one of my big goals recently has just been to have all of my housework and chores wrapped up by, mid-afternoon. I like to be able to relax with my family and just enjoy my time with them in the evening rather than feeling that pull to get back to my room or back to the kitchen to finish up and have a clean slate for the morning. And honestly, if I use my time wisely, it is not hard at all to get this done. So I am folding and putting away. One thing that I have found recently that is just good for morale is I start putting away piles as they grow, not when I'm completely finished folding, which is why I leave the frame several times throughout this folding process. I have also started asking some of my older girls to hang up the pile that is left over there to the right on those pillows. Those are all things that need to be put on hangers and put in closets, and they are totally happy to help me with that. So they grab hangers and they put them away for me, and that just makes all of this so much easier because we always have laundry. Thanks for watching.